I'm still in the excellent company of Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Isabel, they say that there's no good comedy on the airwaves anymore. Well, I beg to differ. Here's Rachel Reeves making her growth speech yesterday.
Low growth is not our destiny. But growth will not come without a fight, without a government willing to take the right decisions now to change our country's future for the better. That's what our plan for change is all about. That is what drives me as Chancellor.
Well, there she is, as we observed yesterday, for some reason making her speech in the middle of a machine, making a great big noise. Talk about amateur hour. But her plans for growth have become now an object of national ridicule. We call her Rachel from accounts. I think we thank Lee Anderson for that, very funny. But Michael O'Leary, the boss of Ryanair, has come up with one that's a bit more direct, but it's kind of funny. Rachel Rubbish. Anyway, he pointed out that, first of all, this runway, the third runway, if it gets built at all, which I say is unlikely, it won't be built until about 2050. So she can't talk about it being a plan for growth now. And meanwhile, Labour, hilariously, is unravelling over this because you've got the Clean Air Brigade, crazy Ed Miliband, the net zero nutter, and Sadiq Khan, the awful pipsqueak London mayor who's obsessed with clean air too. Oh, it's against our environmental targets and all that. So those two, Ed Miliband, sulky Ed, didn't even turn up for a speech yesterday. So he's gone into hiding. He is going to do everything he can to scupper this, probably successfully, because if you play the environmental green card, it nearly always works. He'll be aided and abetted by his partner in crime, Khan. So it's going to plunge straight into, you know, years of campaigning, of objections. If you wanted to be really, really optimistic, 10, 12 years, if it ever happens. I say it won't, but I think O'Leary is nearer the mark. Probably 2050, 45 years, whatever that is. It's pathetic. She says that's a plan for growth. Then she goes on about a little railway line from Oxford to Milton Keynes and a road from Buckinghamshire to Cambridge and says that's the Silicon Valley. No, it's not. And also, incredibly, the whole nation celebrates, put out the bunting. This is a plan for growth. They're going to rebuild Old Trafford, Manchester United football ground. Great. Why Manchester United? What about Fulham or someone like that? You know, I mean, what is she talking about? She killed off all chance of growth with that grotesque £43 billion tax grab budget last October, didn't she?
Completely. And I just wonder, when they were sort of sitting around the table in the Treasury, desperately trying to come up with ideas that would sound like they were doing something and that they had some exciting plans, which one of them thought that the Heathrow third runway was a corpse worth exhuming? I mean, this body was buried many years ago. It was a misery for years. At the time, it was a political row that consumed the Conservatives, with Boris Johnson saying he would lie down in front of the diggers and all that stuff. And it was eventually scrapped, and quite rightly so, because we don't actually need it. The case for it is a lot weaker now than it was when it was first proposed, because people are flying less, you know, because of the advent of Zoom meetings and the ability to actually meet in different ways. I don't think that there is a decent case for it anymore. If you want to invest in infrastructure, aviation infrastructure, do it in the regions where they really sorely could do with a bit more of that. And you just wonder how Rachel Reeves and her team thought there would be enough upside in reopening this, because they can't build it anytime when they're going to be in government. So just talking about it only creates a row story. How is that going to improve the economy?
And how does a little railway line about 30 miles long between Oxford and Milton Keynes and a slightly improved road from Buckinghamshire to Cambridge, how does that add up to Europe's Silicon Valley?
I mean, it's just laughable. It's sort
It's
of
just a
embarrassing.
joke. It's embarrassing. That's what it is. Yeah.
It's really embarrassing that if she wanted to do something super powerful, then she would slash corporation tax, do things that make it easier to employ people, and stop the endless burgeoning of the welfare state. But she's not doing any of those things, so nothing is going to get better. And she does, to give her a credit, she does keep saying, I will be judged on my outcomes. Well, yeah, you will, love. And that judgment day is coming pretty soon. I'm not sure how much longer people are going to give you to achieve what you say you're determined to achieve.
So I'll tell you, she went on to Good Morning Britain, I think it was this morning or yesterday morning, and my friend Richard Madeley, who has a kind of a sort of tendency to be rather direct, his first question to her, she's expecting, expand on your plans for growth. He just went, why did you lie in your CV? Why did you pretend that you were something that you weren't? And she was completely flummoxed by it. And then she started going, I'm an economist, and blah, blah, blah. And he said, yeah, well, that's why they call you Rachel from accounts. And she hates that nickname, which is good to know. So we know what to call her also. But I like Rachel Rubbish as well. Well, I'm glad you brought up the welfare, because I was going to do this as a separate slot, but the air crash kind of knocked it down the news agenda. But it's worth mentioning. You talked about our welfare bill. New statistics reveal that 2.4 million people are now being paid the highest level of incapacity benefits with no requirement to seek a job for the rest of their lives. The number of claimants signed off for life has surged by 50% in 5 years, contributing to a projected welfare overspend this year, 2025, of £8.6 billion. Robert Reeves says she's going to launch a benefits crackdown. But in this country now, there are 9.3 million 16 to 64-year-olds either not in or not looking for work. That's 800,000 more than before COVID. And it's getting worse. And a lot of these people are being signed off on the phone for life. It's a phone call. All right, fair enough. You don't ever have to you're 16, you don't ever have to go to work. The state will pay you for the rest of your life. This is grotesque. It's obscene, isn't it?
It is absolutely incomprehensible. I mean, put simply, Britain is not full of people who are so ill and disabled that they can't look after themselves or support themselves at all. Of course, there are some people in that category. No one is saying that there isn't. And those people need the support of the state, and that's what a welfare state is there for. But the reality is there are an awful lot of people who could do some work. Perhaps they need more help to be shown how to do that, but they could make a meaningful contribution, and it would be better for them. And there may even be some who, in fact, I'm sure there are, who actually want to get back into work, but in fact, it's just easier, or the system makes it easier for them to keep taking handouts. And this is just so wrong on so many levels. It's wrong for the people concerned. It's wrong for the people who really need the help, because it means they get less help because there's less to share around. And it's wrong for the taxpayer, an ever diminishing band of people earning the higher rates of tax are having to pay for ever more people who are not earning anything.
It is, it's unsustainable, and it's going to crash the country. Rachel from accounts has said she's going to really launch a crackdown on all of this, but it is a spiralling crisis, but it's out of control. And the thing is that a lot of these people are, as you say, great sympathy for the genuine cases, but a great many of these people who have got a pass for life, they're lying. They're lying. They're swinging the lead. We've got to do something about this. Isabel, a fantastic couple of days as always. We'll talk again next week. Thank you so much.